Let's see, testing this out. I'm hoping this will work on the live stream. And yeah. All right, thanks so much for coming. We'll get started, next 10 or 15 minutes or so. Just for now, sit tight. If you haven't gotten a binder, they're just outside the church, actually. There's a bunch of binders up there, and that has a ton of paperwork inside that I want to give to all of you because that's forms that you need to be signed and a lot of instructions for other things. And yeah, if anybody's watching the live stream right now and there's something that's going wrong with it, just comment on here and I'll be able to see it, all right? All right, in about 1 minute, we're going to get going. If you have not gotten a binder yet, just please do so. It is just outside the church doors. That is all the paperwork and whatnot in it. So if you haven't gotten one, feel free. If you are on the live stream, feel free to comment if there's something going wrong. I just checked to make sure the sound is working, so it should be. But if there's something else that you're having trouble, just comment, and I will be able to see it. And also, use this time to pull out all the paperwork that I sent you. Again, this is for those with the live stream. Just pull out the paperwork that I sent you via email just a few days ago, because I'm going to be referencing them throughout this entire meeting. And everybody here has got physical copies, but you all just please pull them up, and you'll have them in front of you, and it should be good. All right. Yes, we're going to get started now. All right. I want to thank all of you for coming to this meeting. Thank you, all of you who are watching live stream. Again, if there's something wrong, just comment, and I will be able to see that because I have my laptop right up here, and I will try to troubleshoot and fix whatever's going wrong, but I know so far, so good. So that's really awesome. To officially introduce myself, my name's Andy. I think you guys know that by now, but yeah, I'm the Youth and Family Coordinator at St. Thomas More. And I'm really excited to be here. In short, my job is to do anything that involves grades 6 through 12. And so we're just going to go through this brief meeting to try to overview everything that's going on with this program so you know what exactly it is that you have to do and what exactly your kids have to do. And then we'll all get back in time to watch some Monday Night Football, right? That's the idea. Anyway, so for those of you who have binders, and if you haven't picked one up, please do so. They're just outside the church doors. I want you to open up to the schedule. So that should be right on page 2. The very beginning is a welcome letter. That's just me introducing myself. In short, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. That was a terrible game against the Bears, not going to lie, the other day. And I came to Wisconsin a year ago to join the Spiritus teams. So I got the Spiritus gear here, and that's what ultimately brought me here. And in that year, we did retreats. In short, we did retreats for a number of different students going across the entire state in tons of different dioceses. I worked with about 1,000 Catholic youth in the course of one school year. And in many cases, I was doing confirmation retreats. So I kind of got to see how some confirmation programs went. What I saw, most of them honestly weren't very good. And that was kind of rough because we would have these kids that would come in on retreat and they didn't even know what a retreat was. Like, they had no clue what a retreat was. But they right away said, you know what? If this is for my confirmation program, I bet it's going to be bad. And I'm thinking, geez, there's got to be a better way to do this. So that's why I designed this entire program here. Instead of getting some book and just reading at them or just showing a bunch of videos, I tried to design a program that would give our students exactly what they need rather than what they should probably know. Because yes, there's a lot of important information that you need to know before being confirmed, and we will go over those things. But in short, confirmation is about being called deeper in a relationship with Christ and giving them a reason to stick around even after confirmation is done. Because as we know, it's not a graduation, And I intend to spend a year just fostering those deep relationships so that our kids can really fall in love with Jesus himself. So if you see on page 2 of the binders, and page 2 of everyone who's on the live stream right now as well, you will see this schedule, which I have placed on this whiteboard. This pretty much has all the important dates on it. So what I want you to do is when you go home, make sure all this stuff is in your calendar, because there's some other stuff that's with this program as well, but every single thing that your kid is going to have to show up to is written down on that schedule. So you see all the sessions, you see the parent meeting on top, which is what we're doing right now, a sponsor meeting, we'll talk about that later. The retreat date is on here, as well as the day of confirmation itself. Full disclaimer, April 20th is the official confirmation date right now. It is on a Tuesday. Full disclaimer. Now, I've heard a couple people reach out and wonder, why is it on a Tuesday, and why is it so much later than normal? Here's a situation with that, just to let you all know. The way it works is when you pick a confirmation date, you have to go on the diocese website and request a date with the bishop and do all that thing. Usually confirmation coordinators do that about a year in advance. I didn't get here until July 1st. So unfortunately, a lot of the days on Saturdays or a Friday or a Sunday were already taken. So we were stuck with the Tuesday date. But just so when you see that it's on a Tuesday, it's on a weeknight, understand that that's the reason why. I didn't just pick it for the heck of it. There's an actual legitimate reason why. And the reason why it's later than normal in April as opposed to February is because I want to have a full ceremony. And with COVID and everything, I don't know what's going to happen in February. But I know right now, the way they're doing confirmations, obviously everybody has the masks like this, but they're also very much limiting the guests. And they're discouraging that even the parents go. And I really don't like that. But that's how they're doing it right now. And I don't want it to be that way for our confirmation. I figure the later in the spring we do it, the better chance that things are going to be better and that we'll be able to do a full ceremony. So that's why the date of confirmation is that. Yes, question. It'll just be our parish. Good question. Okay, so I'm going to turn around this whiteboard. This was on actually page 11 of all your binders and of all the paperwork that we have as well for those of you who are watching online. In short, it's just a checklist of every single thing that your kids are going to have to do this year. I want to go over this because I want to leave no stone unturned. I want you to know every single thing that you and your kids are going to have to do this year. It's all written on that checklist on page 11, and it's the exact same thing here. So we're just going to go over what each of these things are so you have a better understanding of what exactly it is your job to do here as the parents and what your kids are going to have to do. So the very first thing you see on here, turn in forms. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think most of you have the registration in, which is good. There are some other forms too. So at the beginning of the binder, all the forms are listed out there. Page 3, that's a liability form. A lot of you have already turned that in, but if you have not, we need it. Basically, it's just agreeing that you want to sign your child up for a program. That's all the liability form is. And every time you do something at St. Thomas More, you're going to have to fill that out at the beginning of the year. So again, a lot of you turned that in with registration. If you didn't, it's right there. Turn the page again. On page 5, you have a couple of pages that are stapled together. They're double-sided. That's the communications form. It's pretty long. You know, it's got a lot of the safe environment rules of the diocese that are listed on it. And basically, there's a point in that form where we need you to authorize either yes or no that it's okay for us to contact your child directly. So I don't know why I'd have to do that, but you know, at some point I might have to contact them if they're not showing up or something's going wrong. You have to either say yes or no. Some of you have turned that in already. You actually only have to turn that in once at our parish, and then you're good forever. So that's the good news. If you signed your kids up for a faith formation program in the past, chances aren't bad that you've actually filled out that form before. And if you remember doing it, you're good to go. You don't have to worry about doing it again. But if you haven't, like if you're a Xavier parent, you probably haven't filled this out with us yet. In that case, you will have to do it. And if you're not sure, just when in doubt, just do it. It's not going to bother us to have 2 copies of the same form. So if you're not sure if you've done it, just do it. After that, you will see that we have the student contact info form. And that's very simple. If you say yes, that you're giving us opportunity, or if you're giving us the opportunity to contact your child if we need to, we just want their contact information, has phone and email, and just the best way we can get a hold of them, so that way if we need to get in contact with your kids directly, we will have the best possible way to do that. After that is the sponsor form. Now, this nobody has filled out yet, which is fine, but everybody is going to have to do that. So we'll talk more about the sponsors later in the meeting, but in short, yes, every candidate needs a sponsor, and the sponsor needs to fill out that form so we can verify that they are, in fact, agreeing to do what they are doing. We also need their contact information because I'm going to be in contact with them throughout the year, so of course I'm going to need that information as well. But that's the very first thing that I need all of you as parents to do. There's not a whole lot the parents has to do for this, but paperwork is unfortunately one of them. So those are the 4 forms. The liability form, if you haven't done it, which most of you have, the communications form, which some of you have done, and then there's a student contact form and the sponsor form, which probably nobody has done yet. And just get those in and turn them as quickly as possible. You can mail them to us, you can scan it to my email, you can drop it off at the office. Your kids can bring it with them during the very first session in October. All that's good, just as quickly as you can, make sure you get that in, or else we're gonna have to be contacting you later in the year wondering where something is, and I don't wanna have to do that, right? Nobody wants that. So that is how we're gonna do that. And once we get that taken care of, boom, turn in forms, that's done. Okay, go to sessions. That's the second thing on the checklist, which again, all this is on page 11 of your binders. I think I memorized the page numbers by now because I've been looking at it so much. And in short, yes, your kids have to go to our sessions. There's only gonna be 7 of them, and they're gonna be starting after the 10 a.m. Mass on Sunday mornings. It's supposed to encourage attendance at the 10 a.m. They don't have to go to that Mass specifically, but they do need to go to Mass because that's just a part of being Catholic. And if you have not heard, the bishop has lifted the dispensation, actually, starting this upcoming weekend. So it will be required. That's just going to be the rule. That's obviously above what we do here at St. Thomas More. That's just coming from the diocese. And so they will have to go to Mass. It's encouraged to go to the 10 a.m., but really as long as they're going at some point, either at Saturday Vigil or on Sunday, will be okay. And then the session will be once a month, and it'll start after that Mass. It'll end at around 1 p.m. And so I'm going to show you more about what these sessions are as I turn this around once more. So all this is written on the schedule. So remember, that's page 2 of your binders, page 2 for everybody who's on the live stream. On page 2, that's the schedule. And every single session, the title, is on that schedule. So these are the 7 things that we're going to be going over. And just to fly through them real quick, because I want you as parents to know what exactly we're going to be talking about. The first one's in a month from now, October 11th. And the times are listed in the binders again, but that will start after the 10 a.m. Mass and go until 1. And the topic is going to be kerygma. Kerygma is just the Greek word to proclaim. We're going to proclaim the gospel to your kids. That's how we're going to start the year. It's very simple. But we're going to do that through personal witnesses and storytelling, because instead of just reading from the Bible, maybe we'll do some of that too, but instead of just reading from a book, we want to give something that's more authentic. That's what I've learned at Spiritus, is that students really like authenticity. They like stories from one's personal life and actually seeing how faith and normal life mix together. That's the entire point of this first session. That's all we're going to do for it. Then this we'll talk about later. Session 2, that's going to be intercessory prayer. That's what the topic is. So I want prayer to be a massive influence on what we're doing this year, because that's quite literally the lifeblood of our faith. It's as essential as breathing. And if I'm trying to teach our students to love Jesus, they have to pray. It's not optional. They have to do it. But the good news is that there's a lot of fun types of prayer that they're actually probably not used to, and this is one of them, intercessory prayer, because what we're going to do, I'm going to get this guy from the diocese to come in. His name is Maximus, and Maximus is really cool. He's extremely charismatic. What he's going to do is he's going to bring our students into the church and scatter them around, kind of like how we have right now, and he's going to invoke the Holy Spirit and they're going to feel it. Like the moment he does that, you're going to be like, whoa, something just happened. It's insane. And then like he's going to just teach them how to pray with each other. And it's actually a very powerful form of prayer, and it's very interactive. It's more fun than maybe some other types of prayers that they're used to, and it's a great way to be intimate with God. And so that's just going to be one emphasis. I want them to learn as many types of prayer as possible, because that really is what's going to make the difference in their faith lives. So session 2 is just going to be dedicated to learning a different type of prayer that they're not used to. Session 3, God is real. Well, he is. And one thing I've learned, remember, I worked with about 1,000 teenagers last year. One thing I've learned, a lot of them struggle to believe in God. They do. Now, they're not atheists. But there's always that thought like, what if God's not real? I don't know. Or what, maybe he's real, but what about Catholicism? How do we know that's the true faith? This session is entirely dedicated toward that, because when they struggle to believe in God's existence, it hinders how far their faith lives can really go. And I think that's true for anybody. So I'm going to essentially prove God's existence, which you can do through Aquinas theology. St. Thomas Aquinas, extremely intelligent philosopher, and of course he's a saint, and he came up with the 5 proofs of God's existence. He used logic to prove that God is in fact real. We're going to go over that during this session, and also a lot of other miracles that have happened, famous miracles over the church's history that are kind of impossible to refute. The point is simply to get our kids to be like, yes, God is real. Like, I'm sure now. I wasn't sure walking into it, but today, this is definitely true. There is something to our Catholic faith, and we're going to do that earlier in the year. They're going to be more open to everything else we're doing throughout, the more they believe in the existence of God. Session 4, we'll talk about the retreat later. Session 4, friendship with Jesus. Okay, another thing to learn about our students, they know God in here, they don't know God in here. That's a problem. Knowing God in here, that's what creates saints. So this session is going to be for that. I will bring in another guest speaker. Sister Cecilia Joy is her name. She is a religious sister, and she's young, and she's very energetic and very good with youth. And she's going to essentially talk about what friendship with Jesus means and what it actually looks like, because as a religious sister, she is somebody who is married to Jesus, right? So I figured she's going to be the perfect person to try to explain what this looks like. We're also going to do another prayer technique that day as well, because, again, the theme of prayer is so important. But that's going to be dedicated to trying to go deeper. And we know God in here, but letting it trickle down to our hearts, because that's the type of thing that's going to make them want to stay in the church after they're confirmed. Session 5, called to holiness. Okay, another thing to learn about our students, they think sinning is okay as long as you're not hurting somebody else. It's completely wrong, but that's what they think. I want to do a session in which we just kind of explain how that doesn't really make sense, because this is how students end up in some serious stuff like drugs, alcohol, lust. They end up in it because they figure they're not hurting another person, so whatever, anything's fair game. And that's obviously not the case, but I want to do an entire session that's going to be dedicated to that so that they do not compromise with sin. Because that's another part of being a Catholic. It's avoiding sin and not compromising with things that we might have compromised before. Also, everybody's called to holiness. It's not just for priests. That's for everybody. So that's what we're going to be talking about here. Session 6, hot topics. That's going to be fun. I'll bring in Father Girardi to come and talk about that. He is from the diocese. He's extremely smart, intelligent. He knows his theology very well, and he's very kind. We're going to go over some of the most difficult church teachings on that day. Again, another thing I learned from working with these students, they have questions. Why does the church teach what she does when it comes to same-sex marriage or abortion or just the hot topics that everybody is kind of, all tense about? They don't want to start an argument. That's what I've learned. They're not there to start a debate. They just want to know what the church teaches. And then hopefully they accept it, but even if they don't, they really are curious on why the church teaches what we do. Problem is, nobody explains it. We just sweep those type of topics under the rug because they're kind of awkward and they're kind of hard. And I don't want to do that, because when that happens, they start to pick and choose different Catholic beliefs on which they're going to believe and which they're not. And in the end, they're only halfway into their faith instead of completely in, and they're only going to go so far like that. So if we can take some of the most difficult teachings and just explain the church's point of view from a very loving perspective, of course, that's going to pay dividends down the road. They're going to start thinking, okay, maybe the church actually has some answers here, and they're willing to dive more deeply into it and trust the church perhaps more than they did before. Last session is charisms. A charism is a spiritual gift. we always say confirmation is not a graduation. Well, that's true, but then we never tell them what to do after they're confirmed, except to keep going to Mass. So when we go over this, there's a big questionnaire they're going to fill out, and it's going to teach them where their spiritual strengths are. It's going to help them figure out what some of their, not just a talent, but a spiritual talent that can specifically be used to build God's kingdom. So when it's all said and done, they're going to leave confirmation, and they're going to think, what can I do now? They're going to remember that charism session and be like, oh, well, here are all the specific things that I can actually do with my charisms. And so it's designed to give them something to do after confirmation is over and kind of help them figure out where the next step is. But that's our 7 sessions for the year. Now, you might be wondering, are these just random topics I put together? No. These are the things that I learned from working with over 1,000 students in all of last year. I'm trying to find the areas of weakness for the average 11th grader and just go all in with it, because I realize these are the type of things that are going to help improve their relationship with Christ and call them deeper. And again, make no mistake, calling our kids deeper is all that confirmation is about. That's what we're going to do. If you're wondering how come there's no other stuff like the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, the 4 marks of the church, or just even what is confirmation? Well, we're going to go over that too, don't worry. We will talk about those things. It's not explicitly written in the titles, but we'll dedicate time every day for that stuff as well, because obviously there are certain things that our kids need to know before being confirmed. But we're also going to talk a lot about these other things so that they are called deeper, okay? Those are our sessions. Turn this back around. All right, that took some time, but you can check this off the list now. Select sponsor. There's also a lot more information on this in your binder as well. And in short, everybody needs a confirmation sponsor. That's a part of the requirements. The only official requirements for a sponsor is that they have to be at least 16, preferably 18 or older, that they are baptized themselves and receive First Communion and receive confirmation. They must have received those 3 sacraments of initiation, and they must be in good standing with the church. That's the only requirement, but what we prefer is that the sponsor is somebody who your child really connects with and can just walk with them and be that accompanied type of person moving forward. And if you don't know anybody who can do that, let me know, because we can collaborate to figure something out. If I need to, I can find someone and match them with your kid. Now, it's not the most ideal situation, but I'd rather do that than have them pick somebody who's not a good Catholic at all because there's nobody in their lives. Because it can't be a parent also. It can't be the candidate's parents. So that's the type of thing that we're going to be looking for, a confirmation sponsor. And this just has to be figured out by the meeting on October 19th. Very important that sponsors attend that meeting. That's going to be the deadline for when they pick their sponsor and for when the sponsor needs to turn in the sponsor form that's in your binders as well. And that's the one piece of information that they're going to have to fill out and not you. I will live stream that. That's a good question. I will live stream the sponsor meeting, but it's very much encouraged that they come in person because the way it's going to be more like a training. And it's going to be harder to really do that on the live stream. But I recognize that we need to do that for some people, especially some that might live far away. So I will be live streaming it, yes. Monthly sponsor one-on-ones. This is why that meeting on the 19th is so important. I'm going to have your students meet with their sponsors just once a month. It can be at their own time, just anytime they choose. But once a month, I want the sponsors and the students to get together and have a one-on-one. In other words, just a conversation, a very simple talk. Just how's life? How's things going? We want to set it up in a way so that the sponsor can be a mentor for your child, because a lot of them are missing that. I'm the very beginning of Generation Z. I am technically the same generation as 11th graders. And I can tell you, growing up, a lot of us did not feel like we had those role models. Maybe the parents, but nobody in addition to our parents. And they need that. That's a problem. And a lot of kids feel like they're walking alone. That's how they feel. And man, we don't want that, right? So we have the sponsors, though. They're the ones who can fill that role. So if we make sure that they're meeting with their kids in a one-on-one type of way every month, then that way we know that something is happening. We know that your kids have a mentor and somebody who knows them, who knows what's going on in their lives, and is just going to walk with them through all of it and help them with their faith lives as well. The sponsor is also somebody who can influence your kids so that they pray more. Again, prayer is everything, and I can tell them to pray more, but they won't do it. We can do stuff with prayer during our sessions, which we will, but that's just once a month. What about every other day? Well, I can't do much there, but the sponsors can. If the sponsors are trying to encourage your kids to pray more, and I will give them specific, very specific types of prayer techniques for your kids to do, and then the sponsors are checking in and holding them accountable, something's going to happen. And really, that's where the growth is going to be. The sessions are all right. The sessions are just sessions. Contrary to what most confirmation coordinators think, sessions, rarely is that where the conversion takes place. That's not everything. But these things will be. The accompaniment, the walking with each other, and the prayer. That's going to change lives. And so that's why the sponsors have an extremely important role, which is why they need to pick pretty wisely with it. And that's why they need to go to this meeting as well, because I call it less of a meeting and more of a training. We're going to train them to take on this role, and I will be in contact with them throughout the year, providing many resources along the way, because it's such an important role. It really will be. All right, we got that. Entrance interviews. Again, it talks about this later in the binders as well. But in short, I would also like to have a one-on-one with your students very early in the year. I will be sending out shortly a sign-up sheet that you can give to them, and they can just select a time slot on there, and at that time, they can just come to St. Thomas More, and we'll just have a conversation. Hopefully outside, if the weather's nice. If not, it'll be probably more in the gathering area. But the idea of that, there's two reasons for the entrance interview. First, I need to know my students. If I'm going to be coordinating this, which I am, I kind of need to know them. But also, I need to verify that they actually want to be confirmed, that they're choosing this. Because some students we get, they don't actually want to be confirmed. And I respect that. If they don't want to be confirmed, I'm not going to make it. I don't see the point of putting them through this whole process if they don't want to be confirmed. The part of confirmation means they're saying yes. They want to keep being a Catholic for their foreseeable future. And if I meet with them and they're just like, I'm not sure that I want to do this, I mean, that's perfectly fine, but I need to know about it. That's the point of this entrance interview. I just need to hear a yes or a no, depending on what it is that they want to do. If your kids were not baptized at St. Thomas More, bring a copy of their baptismal certificate. Yes. We probably would. I can make sure of that, but if you had to turn it in back then I should think that we would still have a copy of that. I'll ask Wendy, who is our administrative assistant, if she has it for you. There's a good chance that we do. If not, I'll let you know. That's a good question. A couple other questions. Go ahead. If you already handed it in, then you're good. Yes? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely they can. Yes, 100%. Okay. But again, unless you have not turned that in, bring the copy, not the you don't need the original. Bring the copy of the baptismal certificate if they're not baptized here. It is simply because we have to prove that they have first received that sacrament before we administer confirmation, or else confirmation won't actually do anything, and it's invalid, and nobody wants an invalid sacrament at all. Exit interviews, that's the same thing, same idea as the entrance interview, basically. I want to meet with them at the beginning, meet with them at the end. Hopefully, we'll see if I have time for that. I think I will. Hopefully I will. But when you put it all together, you get the one-on-one with me at the beginning of the year, the one-on-ones with the sponsors throughout the year, and then one more with me at the end. We're trying to maximize the number of good and caring adults in their lives that can be role models. That's a part of this idea. So that's kind of the purpose of these interviews. Plus, I think this exit interview would be good for me to get some feedback on how the year went and help me figure out what to do for next year as well. All right, almost there. Retreat. Okay, here we go. There's a lot of information about this in the binder. So in short, yes, we will have a retreat. That is a diocesan requirement. a retreat can be a lot of things, but generally it's a way to step away from the busyness of life, simply to focus on a relationship with God. Yes, this will be overnight, as of now. As of now. Now, the reason why I'm planning an overnight retreat, 24 hours to be exact, is because I am a former Spiritus missionary, right? I have done this retreat many times. I know exactly what they're going to do. I'm going to give it to Spiritus. Spiritus is going to be doing our confirmation retreat because I know they do a darn good job of it. I've done a lot of day-long retreats. I've done a lot of overnight retreats. The overnight retreats are better in every single way possible. I mean, it's unbelievable how much of a difference it is, honestly. The kids absolutely love the overnight retreat. They don't think they're going to, but they do. And then a lot of them really encounter God. I mean, that is a really, really good day. Now, I realize we're in a pandemic right now. So here's the thing. If you don't feel comfortable with sending your kid on an overnight retreat, that is perfectly fine. Let me know. I ask that you wait later into the year and see how things are going into January at that time. But let me know, because Spiritus has a number of day-long retreats that we can also send your kids on. They even have a virtual retreat. I haven't seen that before. That's brand new this year. But they have a virtual retreat. So if you don't feel good about the overnight, yes, we have many other options. And also, if it's January and things are really looking bad with this virus, I have the ability to change this to a day-long retreat or even to a virtual one. But if I start out on a day-long retreat and things are okay, I don't have the opportunity to then change it to the overnight. So we're going to start with the overnight. I mean, we're going to hope for the best. But if things are looking really bad, I might change it. And again, if you just don't feel comfortable with it, or if they can't attend for whatever reason, let me know. There are many, many other options. But the hope is to do the overnight because that really is a powerful experience. Yes? Absolutely, yes. And Spiritus is doing a very good job of making sure that those rules are being required. The question was about distancing and the mask. Yes, Spiritus, I know obviously a lot of people with Spiritus at this point, and I hear what they're doing. They're wearing masks during the retreats. They are distancing. For the overnights, they're actually making it so that there's only one per room, which is different from how it was last year. But they're making it like that as well in order to just limit the contact with each other. So yes, all those rules and everything will be followed very well on the retreat, regardless of the format in which you're doing it. Okay, letter to bishop. Again, more on this in the binder. In short, yeah, they have to write a letter to Bishop Ricken. A letter of intent basically stating why they want to be confirmed. That is a diocesan requirement, so it needs to happen. There are due dates written on your schedule for that, but I will remind your kids about it throughout the year. The first draft won't be due for a little while still. But yeah, that's all this. There's also a sample written in the binder as well, because a lot of times they don't know where to begin. There's a sample that I wrote down, and they can't copy that sample because that's plagiarism, but they can use that to kind of help them figure out the right way to do things. So we got that in the binder. That should be easy enough. Last thing, pick a saint. Yes, they also need to pick a confirmation saint. I don't know how Bishop Ricken does it, but I know when I was confirmed, the bishop actually called me by my saint name. So they need to pick a saint, and they need to remember that saint too. Should be obvious, but you never know. Basically, a confirmation saint is, I like to think of them as a companion. I like to think of someone your kid connects with, some saint who maybe have been through certain similar things or something along those lines. On the last page of the binder there, I've written down instructions for that. Also, a ton of specific options. The most common confirmation saints of 2018 are there for what it's worth. And also other random saints that I wrote down as well that I like. But there's no specific due date for that. That needs to happen. They will have to pick a confirmation saint. And I'm going to help them with that as well. So that's nothing to really stress out about. So that is the last thing on this list. Before I open up the questions, which I'm about to do, I want to make one thing very, very clear. We are going to be following all of the procedures. Everything with coronavirus, we're going to be making sure we do everything as safely as possible. That includes masks. Even if Governor Evers ends up lifting the mask ban, we're still doing masks for now, at least. There's going to be distancing throughout all the sessions and everything we're doing. I will be wearing masks, except for when I'm doing what I'm doing right now, because it's hard to give a talk like this with a mask on. But other than that, I will be wearing it myself the entire time. We are going to follow all these rules because, to tell you the truth, both of my parents got the virus. So it kind of hits close to home. I know 2 people who have died as well, 2 different people. very sadly. This was all in Michigan. None of this was around here, and I never got it or anything like that. But the point is, yes, I do take this very seriously because I know when things go wrong, just how bad it can go. So we're going to make sure that we are following all the rules, which is exactly why on this list, you don't see service hours. That might be surprising. Some people expect there's going to be service hours for confirmation. Normally there is. They think it's a diocesan requirement. It's actually not, though. And I'm going to suspend all of that this year because I cannot verify that'll be done safely. I can take every single thing on this list and verify that they will be done safely because I will be coordinating these things. Either that or it'll be a one-on-one, which I'm pretty confident that these will be okay. And they can even be virtual if they need to be. So I'm confident everything here can be safe. But if we send a kid to do some sort of work at a homeless shelter somewhere, great. But I don't know what they're doing there, and I cannot guarantee that it will be done so safely. Plus, there are limited opportunities now anyway. So for all that, don't worry about service hours this year. In a year, I'll revisit that, but that won't affect you, so we'll be good with that. So with that, are there any other questions? Really? Wow, I expected half of it to be questions. Let's see if there's anything online. Oh, yes. Can you repeat the questions being asked? Okay. Well, yes, I understand. I guess I did not repeat all the questions being asked. I apologize about that. If you have any specific questions, please let me know. I will answer them. But as far as the ones that were asked, I know that they're asking about policies, about the COVID thing, which I believe I just answered pretty lengthy. A question was asked also about the sponsor meeting and whether or not that'll also be held virtually. The answer is yes, it will. Did I forget any? Were there any other questions you guys asked? Was it just St. Thomas More or multiple parishes that will be on the confirmation date? The answer is just St. Thomas More. Yes, the question was, can you also be confirmed senior year if they decide they don't want to do it junior year? The answer is yes. That was all of them. Okay. And that is everything that I see here on the live stream. Well, then if nobody has any other questions. Lions, which is, oh man, we can't catch the wide open passes in the end zone apparently to win the dang game. No, I don't want to restate that question. I'm actually also an Eagles fan, fun fact, because I realized that at a young age I couldn't trust the Detroit Lions. So I decided to go with the Eagles, but they lost too. And for college, it's Michigan State. That is my alma mater, which I talk about constantly. And your kids will be annoyed about that by the end, but that's how it's going to be. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. The question is, if there's a situation where a child cannot attend attend a session, sorry. If your child cannot attend a session, what happens exactly? The biggest thing is let me know. I am very flexible when it comes to stuff like this, but you got to be open with the communication because we're going to take attendance at these things. And if we have somebody who's not there and we haven't heard anything, we're going to mark them absent. And if there's too many absences and we haven't heard anything, then I'm going to have to call you, the parents, and I'm unhappy and you're unhappy. And the kids will probably be unhappy too. Everybody's going to be unhappy. Nobody wants that. So if they can't attend, it's really not a big deal. Just let me know. If there's like 3 in a row they can't attend and you're letting me know for all 3, that's understandable. I will, in that case, find something else for them to do to kind of make up for it because you can't just skip all 7. I mean, that's obviously not going to happen. But if it's just 1 or 2, that's really not that big of a deal. I get it. Life hits, which is why, again, this entire program is not revolving around sessions. Their sessions are not, they are important, but that's not where all the growth is going to take place because naturally, that's just how these things go. Spring break sessions was the question. Boy, you know what? That's a very good point. I did check for Appleton. Okay, so Xavier's spring break will not conflict with any of these, what you just said. And Appleton should be good too. Okay, thank you. I didn't think of that, but that was a very good point. Praise God, it didn't conflict. So to clarify, no, spring break will not conflict with any of these. I also looked at other holidays like Thanksgiving, obviously Christmas as well, to make sure that those will be good. The only holiday it conflicts with is actually Valentine's Day, but that was kind of unavoidable with our schedule, so I trust they should be able to still attend on Valentine's Day. They'll have the night free. Yes, another question. Great question. The question was, do sponsors attend all of these, well, it's not here, but the 7 sessions that we have on the schedule, do sponsors have to attend them? The answer is no. They are invited. They can attend if they want so that they know what their kids are doing, but it's going to be geared toward 11th graders, and that was kind of my thing. I went back and forth with that, and I said, you know what, I'm making these sessions entirely for 11th graders, not for an adult. So for that reason, no, they do not need to attend. There will also be a lot of small groups in the sessions as well, so that we're not just lecturing at them the entire time. There will be small groups. There'll be other activities to make sure they're always moving around and not us just talking at them the entire time. And again, all that will be geared toward teenagers. So sponsors, they can attend if they want us just to see what's going on, but it's not required. All right, I think that's it. If that's everything, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you on the live stream. There is no other questions on the live stream, so that's good. If you have anything else that you want to talk to me about personally, just pull me aside. I'll be here for a little bit because I have to clean up anyway. So be sure to do that. But otherwise, have a great day. The biggest thing you can do right now is the stuff at the beginning of here. So turn in the forms. Make sure your kid goes to the session, which is October 11th. That's a month from now. And make sure they sign up for the entrance interview, which I will be sending out. And make sure they pick a sponsor. Those are the things right now that are most time sensitive, but you still got a month between the next sessions, so it's not really a huge rush yet. All right, thank you so much, guys.